Hey guys, Shannon, I just want to say thank you so much for coming. We're really excited about this workshop series that we're able to partner with Josh on for Women in Business. So I know you're on break and we just really appreciate your attendance and hope that this is helpful. And also, just a side note, after this session, if you have any kind of suggestions for other workshop sessions or just critiques on this one, definitely please let us know and we're open to anything.
Yeah, again, just to reiterate what Ali said, like we're really thankful that you guys all made it. We know that it's kind of late and you're on break, so thanks for being here, and it means a lot. So the more attendance we have in events like these, we can have bigger events and so on. So this is just one of many. So thanks for showing up, guys.
Thanks, Josh.
Yeah, no problem. And again, thank you guys for having me. It always makes my job a little bit easier when you guys come to us wanting to do things. Um, so on that note, we'll go ahead and get started. For those of you guys that I have not met, my name is Josh King. I'm the Assistant Director for Athlete Career Development. I'm also overseeing business finance for this year. Not sure how much longer that will last. Some of you guys may have met Beth Adams. She's our normal AD for business finance, but she's currently running all of your weekly testing on campus. So a pretty big, important project that she's been gracious to take over. So I'm helping pick up that slack in the meantime. So on that note, we'll go ahead and get started. Just kind of things we're going to talk about today are just basic resume strategies for careers in business. Some of you guys, like I mentioned, we're just on our first year resume workshop. This is going to be a little bit more specific to business. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit more in depth. If you don't have a resume yet, or you haven't started on one, it's still going to be applicable to you. It should be easy to understand. But if you haven't started that yet, I would also recommend either watching our first year resume workshop or just scheduling an appointment with myself separately so that we can walk through some of the basics. Um, Also, things we'll look at, we'll talk about some resources and strategies for self-study. And then I'll provide a 4-year overview of pursuing a career in business and what that looks like with recruiting timelines and expectations and all of that good stuff. So this slide may look familiar to some of you guys. The biggest thing we're talking about resume, and I don't think there's an industry that this might be more important in than business, is formatting matters. It really does. There's what we call a 6-second resume test. A lot of jobs, especially corporate jobs, are, you're going to apply. You're not going to know who the recruiter is. Sometimes it's just going to feel like you're submitting your resume into a big machine. And a lot of times you are correct. A lot of stuff is automated now. So 6-second resume test, what that is if a recruiter is looking at your resume, you might have a job where you're hiring 2 people, or some of the consulting banking jobs, they might be hiring 20 interns, but they have 1,000 applications. They might have 500 applications. They might have 100 applications. Point being, they're not going to, as a recruiter, sit there and read every line of every resume. So what you want to do is you want to make sure your formatting is really clear and concise, easy to read, so that they can make an easy decision on, yes, I want to continue reading this resume. So on the example on the right, which is one of our templates, the biggest things are the sections are clear, the dates, the locations are clear, the titles, companies, positions, major, all that information is real clear. One note here, you'll see ACT, SAT. For business finance, you do want to keep that on there, especially for finance consulting. Other industries don't matter, business does. So you definitely want to keep that on there for you guys. But all this to say, it's really easy for me to see really quickly as a reader, do you have any experience that makes me want to read further? So like all of you guys, you have women in business. You may have a job shadow, you may have an internship. You may have other clubs that you're a part of on campus. You might be on an athletic team. Different things that make me want to read further. So again, 6-second resume test just makes it easy for me to read so that I can continue reading. The second piece of it is when I mentioned the automated things, if you have funky formatting and boxes and different shapes and designs, that can actually throw off a resume. So your resume might not even make it to the recruiter. Now, for most of what we do in our on-campus recruiting with our partners, someone's going to read your resume, but you still want to build this habit. So as you go out into other applications, or if you're applying for a job with someone who's not one of our campus partners, you'll make that first cut. Other thing, especially for business, you want to show growth. You want to show progressions. That could be something as simple as for 2 years you were a hostess and then you got promoted to being a waitress. And then you did that for a couple of years and then you got promoted to bartender. Whatever it is, you want to be able to show that growth. It may be something where we have students that intern their sophomore year and then they get asked back to come for the junior year internship. So anything that shows growth, continuity, progression, that can be done by formatting. Sadly, sometimes people have good content, but their resumes never get looked at because the formatting isn't good. Another note that I think most of you guys know, but it needs to be 1 page. There are no 2-page resumes in business for current college students. So when we think about that, I don't know exactly which areas you guys are all interested in, but here's some of the 4 bigger areas that we see a lot of students interested in. So consulting, finance, business management, business analytics, or data analytics. So real quick, I just want to open up, start a little bit of a discussion. So, what are some of the skills that you guys think would be required for each of these positions? Feel free to put them in the chat, or if you want to come off mute, either way works. And for make it easy, we'll start with consulting. So Shannon said teamwork. So that's definitely something you see in consulting when you're working in groups. Communication, critical thinking, leadership. Now, organization. So no, those are all good. So what about finance? What might be something more specific to a finance job? So that could be investment banking, it could be really anything. Excel. And I know just from looking at names, I know some of you guys are in the Excel modeling class for Trading the Street, which is great. Researching, definitely an important part of finance. For a lot of you guys, that may be your first internship opportunity before you get a junior year internship. Understanding market trends. So that's something you always have to pay attention to. So those are good. All right. So what about business management, which is about as broad of a term as you can make in business, but just think more management. Could be for any corporate company, any corporation, any small business. Decision making, it's a good one. And obviously a lot of these have already been covered. Leadership, communication, critical thinking, organization, all very important. All right. And so for our last one, when we're thinking data or business analytics, what are some skills that we want to have that may be different from the other 3 groups? So when we think about business analytics, data analytics, we want to think there's a lot of technical skills, right? There's a lot of softwares that you're going to need to know how to use. And not only that, but you need to have the ability to turn numbers into words that mean something to leadership and people making decisions. So again, just to kind of highlight these, there's a lot that could cross over. I mean, like I said, communication, strategical thinking, analytical skills, communication, that's really going to apply to about all of these. But just to break it down, make it a little bit easier, some other things, consulting, you want to be flexible. You very well, once life is semi-normal, you might be traveling. A lot of consultants are back traveling to a degree. You need to want to travel because that's something that you're most likely going to be doing. That could be 4 or 6 month assignments. We had an alum on our Accenture consulting panel who is in Hong Kong for 8 months. So, we have someone who was in California for 2 years on an assignment and then isn't there permanently. So definitely some flexibility, wanting to travel. Finance banking, one thing you'll see, I put it durability, stamina, dedication. I think Allie and, she's about to find out what that looks like at Jeffries this summer. But long hours, a lot of days working. And that's not something that should scare you off, but it's something you should be aware of when you're going into those industries. One of my friends from college, she works at Credit Suisse and she just graduated from Duke and just started in July. And she was supposed to come hang out with us during Thanksgiving and Christmas. And both times had to cancel because she was closing a deal, New Year's. She's closing a deal at 10 o'clock on New Year's Eve because she was the youngest one. So it's something that you just have to be aware of, but she loves it and that's what matters. All right. Business management, again, another thing, just the ability to bring people together, make them better. It's the idea of, 1 + 1 is 3, all the parts are better or some better than the parts. And data analytics, those are just some technical skills specifically that you might want to think about. Excel was mentioned. That's applicable to everything. Honestly, all of these would probably be good to know, but especially in this area. Extreme attention to detail. You have, I mean, that's again something that's reflected for everything, but especially in data. If you mess one thing up, it could mess up a lot of decisions. All right. So all that being said, any questions real quick? Because I know that we just walked through a lot. So I just want to give you guys a second. All right, cool. So when we look at, we're going to talk about resume, and this applies to cover letter too. So that's why I threw that on here. A lot of times you might think like, where do I get started, right? Like, how do I know what to put? So, you're going to have what we call a base resume. It's going to have all your information, everything you've done. But at some point, you're going to need to customize that. At some point, you guys are going to be involved in so many things and have different job shadows and different internships, different clubs, that you have to squeeze it to a page. And to a degree, we can do that with formatting. But at some point, we have to prioritize. So we need to think, how do we do that? Like, what are we looking at? The easiest thing to know is that a job description is a cheat sheet. It's an outline. You should be pulling skills from a job description that you're going to use in your resume, in your cover letter. Sometimes, again, talking about those online algorithms, you need to match those words. Now, you don't want to be obnoxious with it and put the same word 12 times. Like, it needs to be natural, but you need to match those things, because that could be the difference in getting an interview or getting your resume seen and not. The other thing is seek feedback from others in industry. Seek those with more experience than you. You guys are really lucky, and I give Allie and Shannon a lot of credit for what they've built and what they're continuing to build. And you guys are all part of that. So reach out to people in this group. Ask for advice. I've never applied for an internship at Jeffries or Ally, but there's people in this group that have. I can give you a bunch of great advice. I work with the recruiters, but there's people in this group that have actually been through that process. So it's always important to reach out to different people. So I'm great to reach out to, because again, I work with the employers. I hear what they're telling me, but you have people in the group that have been through the process. So always be seeking feedback. It's only going to make you better. So real quick, because I didn't want me to be talking the whole time. I wanted to do a Skillshare activity, just because I know we have a variety of age and, experience in this group. So also, I don't know some of you guys, so I was hoping to get to know you guys a little bit better. So, we don't have to go through everyone, but if you guys want to share, I'm going to pull it back. Can everyone see the questions and know what we're talking about? If not, I'll give you like 2 seconds. Just take a picture of it real quick, because I want to be able to see everyone. So the biggest things are just a basic introduction, just so I can get to know you guys. And then what's your best business skill? What's something you think you have? And we just talked through a bunch of them. So hopefully that helps. And then what's one skill you wish to gain, or something you think you have, but you can improve? All right. So
I could go first. So so I'm Shannon. I'm a junior. I'm an economics major and a math minor, so numbers are definitely my thing. I'm working with Ally this summer as a risk analyst. Not really sure if that's going to be where I want to be in the future, but live and learn. But what I'm most excited about learning this summer is the specific skills we don't get at Davidson, because we don't have a business program. So learning more of the technical skills rather than the soft skills that we're given at Davidson.
Cool. Thanks, Shannon.
Okay, I can go. I'm Shelby. I'm a sophomore. I was tutoring, so I didn't hear the skills, but I would say that like my best skill is probably public speaking. I'm really comfortable talking in front of people, and it does not faze me at all. But since I am really good at speaking, I am not very good at interviewing, so that's something that I want to improve.
Thanks.
Okay, I'm Riley. I'm a freshman, and I think I want to be an econ major and a Hispanic studies minor. I think my best business skill, I don't really know, but I would probably say like communication. I think I'm good at like talking to people and organizing stuff. And then one skill that I want to improve on, which I started doing with the training the street thing, which was really helpful, but like working with Excel and learning shortcuts and stuff, because I thought that was really interesting.
Good. We'll do one more. Someone maybe that I don't know, but
I can go. So I'm Catherine. I'm also a freshman, and I'm an intended double econ and psych major. Probably my best business skill would be I'm very hyper organized and have learned to do pretty good time management. And then something I'd like to learn a lot like Riley is just sort of the Excel sheets and sort of that practical knowledge that I feel like I'll need in the actual real world field.
good. If there's anyone else that just really wants to go, I won't cut you off, but I don't want everyone to feel like that. Awesome. So I will reshare my screen. But yeah, I just wanted to do that just to, kind of hear from you guys, but really just to get you thinking. You want to know what you're good at, but you also want to, there's always things you want to be working on. Even for myself, I'm pretty comfortable doing these presentations. I'm getting used to the Zoom part. I wasn't a fan of that at first, but I'm used to talking at the green dot now and not seeing you guys. But one thing I want to improve on is I start a lot of projects and I finish a lot, but I don't always follow through. So in some ways I have good time management skills, but sometimes I feel like I could be better with that and be more efficient, make sure I follow through everything that I start. So next thing we want to look at is, so one note, this is an actual internship that I just posted yesterday. If you are a sophomore, it is a really good opportunity. You will note that it says classes of 23, 24. It's really geared towards sophomores, just to be candid. But it's something that we'll have again next year. So I want to throw that plug out. If you're a sophomore, this is something I would definitely take a look at. If you're interested, definitely let me know, because they're hiring a lot of positions and they want a lot of Davidson students. We already have 2, I believe, who will be working with them. But the point of this exercise is, we talked about, a job description being a cheat sheet for a resume in terms of skills. So I want to give you guys really as long as you need 30, 45 seconds. And let's see, if you were reading through this, what would you identify to be 3 to 4 things that you would want to make sure are portrayed in a resume and or a cover letter?
Are we just shouting them out?
Yeah, you can put them in the chat. You can voice them either way. There's no right or wrong answers, to be honest. All right, so we have time management, writing skills, research, teamwork. Good. So, that demonstrating interest in business. So having finance, business, econ classes. Good. So kind of funny, because when we think about it, we were looking at all those positions, a lot of what we talked about, right? This is a very general internship. It's designed to get people interested in finance and give them that exposure. It is geared towards first generation students and children of public servants. But again, it's really to help people get into finance that may not have opportunities otherwise. So when I read through this, these are the things that I immediately highlighted. Again, there's no right or wrong answers, but you guys did a pretty good job. You saw what I saw. So, they make it pretty clear, right? Part 1, part 2, research, writing, teams. Those are the 3 words that I looked at and was like, okay, if I'm applying for this job, I'm making sure that's in my resume. I'm making sure that's in my cover letter. If I'm an athlete, I'm especially, utilizing those things. The person who's hiring played baseball in Division I. His son is an athlete here. So definitely touching on that. The educational component, showing an interest. So what are you doing? you guys are all in women in business. So that is an educational component that you can talk about that demonstrates that interest in financial services, some of those intangibles, and especially for these guys that may, be a leader within this organization. Easy money right there. So good job with that. So this one, I just went and showed you all the red. I didn't take a screenshot. I just want to get right into it. But so this is a government consulting job. So if I'm looking at this, again, different type of job, these are the things that I'm looking at. This is a full-time job. Obviously, the first one's an internship. This is full-time. So obviously they're going to require a little bit more. They're going to assume you've had some significant internship experience, things like that. But these are the things that I did when I applied for this job, and I've done for every job that I've applied for. Even though it's not in business, the point remains the same. So you want to think about all the tools they're asking. The other part of this is, going beyond like a resume cover letter. This is how you prep for an interview, right? If I'm looking at this, I want to think about all the experiences that I've had, whether that be in a class, whether it be a personal project, whether that be an internship. And for each of these things I've underlined, I'm going to have at least 2, maybe 3 examples of times I've demonstrated those skills so that I can weave those into an interview. Same thing with cover letter. Again, we talked about that with resume. Biggest thing here is these are all qualifications and skills. This is also a really important thing to know, right? What does the company do? Sometimes that's hard to figure out, to be honest, especially with consulting jobs. You don't know what area you're going into. So you approach that a little bit differently. But when you have a company who's pretty explicit, you know exactly what they do, you want to think of how you can apply those examples to what they're doing, right? You might have data analytics, but how does it apply to, cloud and digital platforms? How does it apply to those things? So that's where you want to get specific. Any questions with that? Cool. So now we're going to talk a little bit about, that's the first part when we look at resumes for business, trying to think about all that content, what we're trying to sell. Now let's look a little bit about how do we actually do that, right? So we're going to look at building our bullet points. The first one that I see a lot is just don't undersell your contributions. As an intern, as a job shadow or as an intern, you may not directly do everything, but you're doing a lot of good experiences. All right. So don't undersell that. So, for those of you guys that may have, may do some part-time research with the firm, you can talk about assistant manager with accountants research. 2 things with this. This is pretty vague. I don't have a clue really what you did beyond the fact that you researched. And I could probably assume that from your job title. But the second thing is you can research, but is it good? Was it helpful? Was it useful? Was there success there? Again, I will say sometimes there are things where you're working on a 6 to 12 month project and you're only there for 8 weeks. Obviously you may not see that through. So you have to navigate that a little bit differently. But if there's something right here where you actually saw the results, put that. So a better way to say that would be perform research on local retail markets to assist manager in soliciting new clients, resulted in securing 4 new accounts in summer 2020. All right. So again, it gives me a little bit more information. So I know, okay, you worked in retail. Again, this might be important because the company you might be working for or applying to, that's something they work in. Or maybe it's not, but it's transferable. Either way, it gives more information than this. And then again, anytime we can show success and we can show, quantitative things that show that, we want to do that. Next one. Always want to lead with action verbs, be concise with detail. This is just a resume fundamental. I don't care what industry you're in. Never want to say I, me, we, our, not in a resume. In a cover letter, there are going to be times for that. But resumes, we will be short and concise. Again, it's almost similar to the first one, but, I managed a few accounts and helped build them into being more successful during my time. I see bullets like this. It's way too casual, doesn't give enough information. So again, a better way to flip that would be talk about manage 4 sales accounts and communicated daily with clients to ensure satisfaction, increase sales by 35%. Again, this is another way to drop that communication skill in there while you're taking up that space with these 2 lines. Last one we're going to look at is, some of you guys may not have, especially in your first, second year, you haven't had that finance or that banking or consulting type internship yet. no one expects you to. But what have you done? And most of you guys have done things where you've gained those skills. So we listed all those skills in the beginning. How do we apply those? So, I don't know if any of you guys have done landscaping. You might have been a lifeguard, might have been a nanny, might have sold your own art, different things. But for, especially for argument's sake, we're going to say you run this company, whatever it is. So a lot of times I just see the duties for a person that did that, but they don't talk about what they had to do to be successful, right? So anyone can do these duties, but if you're owning a business, you obviously have clients, so you had to do that somehow. That might have been, it might just be through your neighbors, family, friends, people at school. That's utilizing your network. We can call that grassroots marketing. We can call that whatever we want, but it is a form of marketing, right? Maybe you just went out on your own and did something completely on your own, posted on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Maybe you have an HOA Facebook group that your parents are in. Maybe there's flyers at the pool, whatever the case is. Talk about that. Talk about how you built your base up. All right. I worked with a lot of students who have made a fair bit of money in the summer, and it's actually pretty impressive. Don't be afraid to put that. If you want to go into business, talk about, it may just be collecting payments and putting it in the bank and doing taxes, basic things like that, but that's still relevant information. Some of you guys do this with your eating houses. That's stuff you want to show. So that's another way that you can gain that experience. And if, you don't have this experience, eating houses are a great way to gain that experience. But again, semicolons are your best friend. You're showing what you've done and then showing the results. And then of course you can put the actual technical, work type things you did, but that's not the important part, right? These are the two important parts. It's the business related things. Whereas this is a note that you can put, but it's not the most important. Any questions on those bullets? Sweet. We shall move on. Okay. So, we're going to walk through some resources, but I think the title of the slide says it all. Control what you can control. You can't control if your family works in finance. You can't control if you haven't had a job shadow or an internship or anything like that. But there's a heck of a lot of things that you can control, whether you're, a first year or sophomore, junior. I don't think we have any seniors, but regardless of what it is, there's a lot of free resources. There are hours and hours of content and ways that you can build yourself up. So the things we can't control right now are internships. That's not experience we can gain at this moment, right? That's something we can apply for, we can do in the summer. Generally, that's not something we're doing right now. But things like Vault, things like Trading the Street, which we had 3 of last year, we'll have those again next year. LinkedIn Learning, Coursera, Cat Claws. There's a lot of Excel. There's a lot of tech things through Cat Claws, through the hub. There's marketing boot camps. There's startup. There's entrepreneur boot camps. Tune into those things, right? Davidson Connect. There's mentorship opportunities. So real quick, I'm going to walk through some of these things just to give you guys a brief overview. LinkedIn Learning, we'll talk a lot more about during our LinkedIn session next week, but I just did want to highlight that a little bit. So I'm going to stop my share so I can get this up here. All right, so when we look at this, some of you guys may be aware of these things, so just bear with me. But in the resources tab, we go here, we search Vault. This is an incredible resource, but I will warn you, it's easy to get lost and it can be a little bit overwhelming. So I'll walk you through how I would recommend you approach it. So Vault is a website. Again, you just go to the guide. It has the hyperlink here. It should automatically link you through Handshake, so it knows you're a Davidson student. It's something that's free through the college. But within here, there's 2 areas, right? So you might be a first year or a sophomore or junior who has no clue what different careers mean, right? I think the most fun and easiest way to look at this are go to the day in the lives. And these are really business heavy, which is good for you guys. So you have business administration, you have, advertising, marketing, sales, consulting, finance. So for the heck of it, we'll go to finance. So you can see a bunch of different titles. Some are specific to companies, some are specific to areas, whatever the case is. So, we want to know, what does a entry-level private equity employee do? They'll have these little guides. So some of them are hour by hour from the day. Some of them are day by day. Some of them are just a week summary. So you can kind of see here, he's up and at 'em early, at work by 7:15, gets home around 8. So, that's a pretty typical day for him. So this is a good way to see, does this sound like the lifestyle I want to live? Or these things sound interesting? All that good stuff. Once you get past that, another good thing to do is you can research industries. So if you see some jobs that look interesting to you, you can go here. Again, there's a ton of different opportunities. So, say you want to work in venture capital. This guide will help you see, what does venture capital mean? Like, what are some of the upsides? What are some of the downsides? What are things going on in the industry today that you should know? This is a great way to prep for an interview, especially if you're not as familiar with a certain area, or even if you're prepping to meet with an alum who you're going to have a conversation with. You want to make sure you have some knowledge beforehand so you can get some more information there. See current trends and issues, see industry outlook. What are what are things going to be like in 5 years when you may be getting started? And the last thing that I'll walk through is there's all these guides. So again, banking, finance, there's different employers, economics, all the good stuff. There's also, guides on, different firms. So who do people like? What are reviews? You can also find internships. So a ton of information, but, don't let it overwhelm you. And like I mentioned, I'm just going to briefly run through it. I'm sorry. So LinkedIn Learning, great tool, free through the college. If reading vault isn't for you, there's a ton of videos you can watch. Ton of different subjects. There's different technologies you can learn. You can see here, so you have Power BI, Tableau, a bunch of these different things, Python, Java, things that might be helpful for you. And again, that's where we talk about, you can't control whether you have an internship right now and you're actively working on that, but you can learn these things on your own. And then those are skills you can put on a resume. And that's a great way to build yourself up when we have breaks like this. All right. So any questions on those resources? Cool. We're about wrapping up here. I just want to share a few more things here. So here, if you're interested in consulting, again, this is going to be in the presentation you guys will get. There's a ton of information. The biggest thing with consulting, and you can start it now, even if you don't plan on, interviewing until next summer or the year after, but case studies and case prep it's a beast, and it's something you want to start on earlier than later. There's a ton of free cases. That's not something, to be honest, I can directly do. I'm not trained with that, but we do have a lot of alumni who are consultants and are happy to do these with you. So there's a lot you can do on your own, but you can also get that one-on-one practice with a lot of our alumni who are happy to help. And if you need help with that, finding those people, I'm happy to help you with that. All right. So again, resources at Davidson, we talked about the resume guide and templates. Those are in Handshake resources. Similar to Vault, you just type in resume guide and it'll pop up with our templates. A big thing I want to remind you guys is walk-ins. We have walk-ins. So every day from 8:45 to 5, there's someone on call. Tuesdays, we don't start till 10 because we have our staff meeting. But there's someone who can answer your 5-10 quick questions, 5-10-minute quick questions. You can also always email me. You can also schedule appointments. So you can either do an athlete appointment or, you can do a business finance appointment. Raquel Daly also does business appointments for students. So you can pick whoever you want to meet with or whatever time works better. But again, the other thing are, we have a staff of 12 career ambassadors. So Allie, Shannon, Molly, they're all on that staff. They're happy to help you guys. I would think most of you guys in the group are happy to help with each other, but really utilize that network that you guys already have. All right. And our last slide is, in addition to, these events, we have 10 more coming up in the next week and a half. So, or I guess next 2 weeks. So definitely check those out. And if you attend multiple events, there are prizes. And I know we all love prizes. So definitely check those out. I will, like I said, I'll send you guys an email with all this information, presentation, all that good stuff. But, I'll also send a survey. Please, if you have thoughts or questions and you don't want to put in a survey, just mention it to Allie and Shannon. There's events you want to do, just let me know. But it only helps me get better. So I always appreciate that feedback, for better, for worse. But that's all I have. Do you guys have any questions